Today we're gonna be raising the new boy, Kaveh. I don't know, I'm gonna call him K. We should have pretty much everything for level 70. I am trying to keep the in-video farming to a minimum. That's not to say we'll never do any farming. For example, I didn't prepare as well as I thought I did, and we have to beat the Dendro Hypostasis twice. But okay, that's not a big deal. That should do it for the first run, and yes, we're already using Zhongli again. I did miss him a little bit, actually. One more run here should do it. Just need to go to the crafting station real quick, and there we go. Level 70. I do want to explain the required materials he needs. Crystalline cyst dust, much like Baizhu. You get these from the mushroom enemies, just don't attack them with pyro or electro. World boss drops, the cube we just fought. Morning flower, one of the newer materials. These are pretty interesting though, because they're only really found in a couple of spots, mainly in the little bodies of water, these little rivers here. There are some more underground, but the vast majority are in these two rivers. So I'd say unless you're in a rush, you don't even really need an interactive map. Just hit up these two lakes every few days. The amounts he needs is currently on screen. Feel free to pause the video if you need more time. For talents, as usual, he'll need the same enemy drops as his Ascension, but also Teachings of Ingenuity, which are open Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday over here in Sumeru. Again, the amount of these materials for each given talent level, as well as the total amount to get a skill to 10, is on screen. But alright, I'd say it's time for the talent and constellation overview now. His normal attacks are a little on the slow side, but for a greatsword user, at least to me, they feel decently fast. He does have a Beyblade charge attack, but it's pretty cool because he doesn't spin around himself. I guess he never even really holds his greatsword, does he? Other than visually, there's nothing super special about his basic attack. His elemental skill is a simple AoE Dendro attack. However, if there are any Dendro cores around, it'll immediately explode them. His burst is a transform burst. It basically super buffs him, causing all of his normal attacks to deal Dendro, which cannot be overridden. On activation, it does deal Dendro damage. It'll also increase all bloom damage, regardless of who creates it. And finally, it buffs his resistance to interruption, so it's harder for him to get knocked around. I think one of the most interesting things about K is his first passive here, where he will essentially heal from bloom damage instead of taking damage. The one thing I didn't really know about until recently was that it can only be triggered once every half of a second, which is a little unfortunate because he is going to insta-explode every bloom with his elemental skill and burst. So when they're all happening at the same time, he's only going to actually heal from one. I assume that was on purpose, of course, so that he's not basically indestructible in a good bloom team, but still, a little bit of a shame. His second passive is very simple. Basically, after doing burst and going into this buffed state, every time he hits opponents with his normal attack, he'll gain 25 elemental mastery up to 4 stacks. So pretty quickly after his burst, he'll get an extra 100 elemental mastery until his burst ends. As for constellation, C1 gives him Dendro Res and incoming healing bonus 3 seconds after using his elemental skill. This didn't make sense to me at first, but knowing that he can only heal from a Dendro core every half second does make a lot more sense. So he'll heal more from the one that does explode and take a lot less damage from the others that do hurt him. C2 sounds actually quite good. It'll increase his normal attack speed during burst, and based on his kit, he will be the one out on the field. C4 sounds pretty good as well. If K himself triggers bloom, they will do 60% more damage when they explode. I'm assuming this 60% is also similar to Baiju's passive, where it kind of tacks onto the Element's Mastery bonus. I can't actually test that at the moment. I don't have him C4, but that's my assumption anyway. And I feel like C6 fits his role very, very well. While you're in burst mode and hitting opponents with normal attacks, you'll unleash an extra AoE Dendro attack that does damage, of course, but also causes all Dendro cores within the area to explode. And this can happen every 3 seconds. So now that we've done his talent and constellation overview, a little bit of an opinion, I suppose. He definitely sounds kind of like a 4-star Nilou, honestly. His kit almost turns Dendro cores into bountiful cores, but just still not quite as good. He does, of course, have that added flexibility Nilou does not, where he can be in teams with other elements besides Dendro and Hydro. So it's kind of a middle ground there. I don't think his blooms are going to be better than bountiful cores. Bountiful cores are insane, but I think they can get decently close while also having that flexibility. So those are sort of my first impressions from his kit and constellations. I think to be a really good Nilou competitor, he would need C6 though. As a 4-star, that is generally easier, although technically it could be harder since there's no guarantee for 4 stars, which I still think is a little weird, but that might be a topic for a different video. As for talents, I'd say they're pretty much all important. Some characters have separate multipliers for their transform damage. Just to be on the safe side, we will test it later, so we're not going to raise it right now, so we can actually see if there is as a damage increase. But there's his E and burst up to 6. As for weapon and artifact build, he does seem like a purely reactionary character, so lots of element mastery is going to be good. Some energy recharge wouldn't hurt. I think one of the newer weapons here, Makhaira Aquamarine, would be pretty good. Has EM main stat and he will get bonus attack based on his element mastery, which he should have a lot of. The attack bonus will help him deal a little extra damage because he does purely scale with attack. It's just that reactions such as Bloom don't care about attack. We also have this event weapon I never bothered even refining. Does also have EM main stat and would give him nearly another 100. My max refinement for this other weapon is rank 3, so I imagine a lot of people might not even have it yet. After you complete the R&R quest, there is someone here. There's a shop you can buy blueprints from, and once you get and use those blueprints, there's a weapon here called Forest Regalia. This is actually the weapon he was using in the test run. Energy recharge main stat is fine. If you can get it up to R5, I assume this 60 elements mastery will turn to 120, but it's not a permanent 120 elements mastery since this leaf you create upon doing any Dendro reaction only lasts 12 seconds and it can only be generated every 20 seconds. We're gonna go with this one for now. I'm not sure how much I can raise it, honestly. Sadly, we can only get it up to level 70 and the domain isn't open today. Weapons are a bit of an afterthought in the preparation phase. As for artifacts, I think one of the only sets that really makes sense, how I plan to use them anyway, is Flowers of Paradise Lost. Sadly, the one set I have is not great, but we're gonna give it to him. It increases Elements Mastery by 80, good. He wants EM, and the Bloom, Hyper Bloom, Burgeon damage is increased by 40%, going up to 80% when you get all the stacks. I would actually prefer to go triple Elements Mastery, especially when he's lower level like this. I don't think there's much point of trying to, you know, give him crit stats and attack and everything. We are trying to get some energy recharge via substats. It's not going super well yet. Well, that rolled well, 30% def. Was hoping I could get an energy recharge roll in there or something, but whatever. Probably doesn't have a lot. 136. His burst is quite expensive at 80, but let's see if it's enough. He does have nearly 1,000 elements mastery, which is cool, while being level 70 with a 70 weapon. So that's something. Probably could sacrifice one or the other artifact, or maybe even a different weapon. Maybe at level 90, he could be something more of a DPS. As for team, blooms do seem to be his forte, although there are a couple of things I want to test again. First of all, this will be an easy one. Do bountiful cores also heal him? Yes, they do indeed. I saw a plus 2,000 healing up there. I mean, he just got hit in the face with at least 2 bountiful cores and he has more health than he started with. So yeah, I do kind of want to try him in a bountiful core team first. He will definitely need his burst if he's going to be out on the field triggering the blooms. Otherwise, he only has a little bit of Dendro application with his elemental skill. So we're essentially trying our typical bloom team and just replacing Nihida with Kav. Once we raise Baiju, I think he could be where Kokomi is. We'd also get Dendro Res, which would be cool. I feel like since he can only heal every 0.5 seconds, Bountiful Core might actually be a lot better since they don't all explode simultaneously with his skill. I honestly don't think there'll even be much of a need to use his skill in this team, outside of just an extra Dendro attack. Let's just see how this goes first of all, and hopefully we can get his burst somewhat quickly as we don't have it right now. Yeah, his burst is actually taking an eternity to get. Probably need more energy recharge. That craftable weapon might be actually pretty good. All right, well, everyone has their burst now, and indeed I would want Kav to trigger the bloom since he has the most elements mastery. But all right, let's just start with an E, I guess, whatever, and then just start basicing. Let's see what's going on there. Maybe 16 to 20k. There was a 15. Definitely not as impressive as like with Nihida, but that makes sense. For now, let's try giving Xingqiu Deepwood Memories, so the Dendro Res is decreased. Let's see what he's doing now with Deepwood activating. Yeah, I think nearly 20k now, which is much better, of course. I feel like they should be a little more considering he has over 1,000 EM. We're just gonna replace Kokomi with Shinyan so we're not creating bountiful cores anymore, and we'll see how much the normal blooms do. All right, let's go ahead and do his burst. Get a couple blooms and then explode them. No, they still do a little less. Yeah, but not that much less, honestly. I really feel like it's the C6 I'm missing. It's honestly a bit tough because he is kind of more DPS-y and he really suffers from low level, low weapon, so it's kind of hard. And I really do think Flowers of Paradise Lost would be a good set for him, but the one set I do have is really bad. I have been farming more, but it doesn't really seem to help. Also, we never raised his basic past 1. I did want to make sure this actually increases the damage. I am assuming it does, but you never know. All right, let's just look at his first attack here. 426. It doesn't really matter that it's so tiny. We're just trying to see if it gets more. Now we'll raise it a bit. He definitely needs a lot more energy recharge though, that's for sure. Probably like at least 160 to 180, like minimum. It takes forever to get his burst back. Favonia's greatsword would probably help also. All right, let's try that again. 495. So as expected, this does increase the burst normals. It might be a while till God mode since he's only C2. It's just really hard to say though. Like on one hand, his whole kit does revolve around blooms. On the other hand, everything just scales with attack. So it's like, do you build him with a bunch of EM to boost blooms? Or do you build him like a DPS so that everything else is doing something? I guess you could do a bit of both with like an EM Sans, Dendro bonus, and crit, but my Flower of Paradise Lost set is total trash. Assuming the 4-piece set does also only tack on 80% to this number, which is already at 513. I guess it's not a massive deal to just not have the set, especially when the subs are so bad. I guess just for fun, we will build him like a main DPS. Again, at level 70, it probably won't be much, but that's better. Basically, just swapped out the circlet. We still do have almost 400 EM, I guess, when we are doing blooms. Guess we should also at least get his basic up to 6 as well now. Yeah, his energy recharge is still god-awful, but the blooms are still doing 10k somehow. That's kind of crazy. I mean, yeah, there is diminishing returns with Elemental Mastery. Case in point, Xingqiu here with 462 EM has almost exactly half of Kazuha's 930. 462 EM gives you exactly 300% bonus, whereas double that doesn't go to 600, it goes to 508. It is still kind of surprising though that we lost like 600 EM and aren't doing that much less damage. All right, everyone has their burst now. Let's see what we're doing. We're doing like 5,000 damage with our basic attacks, which is whatever, I guess. We are also mostly doing Hyper Bloom now. Well, I guess Shogun is. I don't think she has a ton of EM. Guess I could give Shogun a ton of EM and maybe even Paradise Lost. But yeah, that's getting into like weird team build territory, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm honestly a little bit lost for words. I don't know how to feel about him. I think at C6, when you can be exploding the Dendro cores every 3 seconds, it would be kind of like Nilou, but you can have other elements in your team. I don't think his Dendro cores are ever gonna be as strong as Bountiful cores, but it's like a middle ground. I think I said this already. I really try my best to understand a character as well as I can, and his kit is just like blooms. Do only blooms forever. But then it just kind of seems annoying that nothing in his kit actually scales with Elemental Mastery. Okay, not true. The amount he heals from blooms is based on his Elemental Mastery, I guess. I feel like he will be a much different character at level 90, because again, level really does matter a lot when it comes to reactions like bloom. But for now, I guess that'll do it. Make sure to tell me what you think in the comments down below. Dropping a like or subscribing if you enjoyed is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.